Hi, this is Max Garazminko, Michael Graver, and Michael Capuana, and today we're going to talk about CRC cards. So CRC cards are a great brainstorming tool when designing object-oriented software. They are used when you are trying to get a basic feel for how the software will function as a class and how it will interact with other classes in the software. So this technique is great when trying to prevent getting sidetracked with the details and implementations of the software, but instead just want a rudimentary idea for how the design will work. So how it works is you typically take an index card, though you could do this using a software program, and you write the class name at the top. Then below that, on the left-hand side, you'll write the responsibilities for that given class. Lastly, on the right-hand side is where you will list the collaboration within that class, or in other words, the classes that this class will interact with. Notice the three words, class, responsibilities, and collaboration. This is where the acronym CRC comes from. CRC cards are a great alternative to UML diagrams and actually provide some great benefits that we will talk about later. We really want to show how simple this process can be, so we demonstrated a part of the home teaching app on these index cards. We chose index cards rather than using a software application because we really want to show you how real and simple this technique is. Now the reason for a 4x6 note card is really important. We aren't just trying to fit as much information as possible on this note card. In fact, it's just the opposite. The CRC card is to store the high-level description of the class, which is why we simply give it a name at the top, the most important responsibilities on the left, and the collaboration on the right. So a common rule is to keep away from going past the number of lines that a 4x6 index card has. So as we look at this card, we can see that the class is for the Elders Quorum and Relief Society. The responsibilities for this class include assigning teaching assignments for the home or visiting teachers, gathering the information from the home or visiting teachers for which families were taught, reporting the statistics to the bishopric, and providing aid to the teachee when necessary. As we can see, in order for this class to accomplish its responsibilities, it will clearly need to collaborate with the home or visiting teachers, the bishopric, and the teachees. In these next two cards, we see the same thing, but for the home teacher or visiting teacher class and the teachee class. One thing to notice is that the responsibilities of these classes are the fundamental responsibilities of those organizations, but we all are also keeping away from describing the bits of data such as the names, their address, phone numbers, etc. If we did all of this, we would go over the lines allotted, so that gives us a reminder as well.
Hi, I'm going to introduce the strengths and weaknesses of the class responsibility collaborator cards technique. This technique is really simple. It does not overwhelm the task of object-oriented modeling. This technique provides a good environment for working and learning. It demonstrates great group interactions. Participants' creativeness is required to facilitate the brainstorming of good solutions. Everyone in the team has a concrete role. This technique is inexpensive, portable, flexible, and readily available. It emphasizes the division of responsibility across objects. It encourages an intuitive understanding of the model. The size of the cards provide a guideline for class complexity. It allows the participants to this card allows the participants to experience firsthand how the system will work. The cards capture the essential aspect of design: classes, responsibilities, and the patterns of interaction. Finally, this technique is a useful tool for teaching people the object-oriented paradigm. Let's talk about limitation of the card responsibilities collaborator cards technique. First, it provides only limited help in the aspect of design. Second, it does not have enough notational power to document all the necessary components of the system. Many teams using this technique eventually encounter natural language text disadvantage that allows a great deal of ambiguity, and reading and reviewing any non-trivial use case has the potential to become tedious. The combination of these two disadvantages can mean missed or incorrect requirements. A design and implementation based on requirements specification with missing or incorrect requirements will almost certainly result in the delivery of bad software from the user's perspective and frustration from everyone involved in the project. Third, it does not specify implementation specifics. And finally, this technique cannot provide view of the states through which objects transition during their life cycle.
CRC cards are best used at the beginning of the design process. The reason for this, as previously explained, they provide the bare essential information needed for classes and their various responsibilities. And it's most important that they're used during object-oriented programming, since each card represents a different part of each card represents a class in the program. For example, right now we would want to use SRS cards in our design process because now that we have an idea, we need to start developing plans of the classes needed and how they will interact and communicate with each other within the program. For example, making a card for home teaching or a card for visiting teachers, Elders Quorum, and just numerous different objects. And when you have so many different objects, it can get complicated very quickly, and you may get overly detailed on accident. So CRC cards are usually best used during brainstorming. And the reason for this is a plethora of ideas are developed, and then they are refined and fused together to make a really good plan. An example of how CRC cards would be used in a brainstorming session is a handful of developers would get together and CRC cards would be passed out to each person. Each person would be assigned a couple of classes to write the cards for. After they have done that, they would get together and start developing the plan. It also helps that you can watch each other's cards and start saying, hey, you missed that, or we may want to change that in the future. The developers would then take the cards and start developing a model of how the classes would work and how they would interact and pass data between each other. As the time goes on during this brainstorming session, ideas would be refined and generated until you got a really good design. Another good time to use CSC cards is when planning is getting too overly detailed. It allows you to take a step back and look at the big picture. During our SRS requirements gathering, we sometimes made the mistakes of gathering the how instead of the what, and that came up a couple of times when writing the document. Another time it comes in really handy is to organize very complex classes. As we get into bigger projects, these classes will become very many, and they will also become very complex within themselves. So this provides a way that if classes need to be reorganized or organized again, instead of worrying about the hows that may have already been developed, it provides a way to take a step back again and to just reorganize them.